Hey, this is Dr. John for Extract Talks. How you doing? Today, we are going to talk about THCA and everything related to THCA. Thank you for joining us. But before we get started, go ahead and press that like button. Please press the subscribe button. Add comments as you're going along. We do read the comments, and we'll use them for additional content. Of course, if you have any questions, you should give us a call. Let's get started here. We're going to talk about THCA.
What is it?
I don't know. You tell me.
The precursor to all the psychoactive stuff that everyone's crazy about.
Yeah, I think I suppose that all the plants are growing THCA and it exists as THCA in the plant, right?
That's right.
We're always like, okay, well, when you're growing THC, and there is some Delta-9. Why is there Delta-9 in there? Right?
It's just degrading all the time, right?
Yeah, well, right. It's decarboxylating in the presence of the sun and the presence of the heat, and so it decarboxylates right on, but not 100%, right?
Yeah.
Only partially.
A teeny tiny fraction of 1%, right?
Yeah. It's always decarboxylating, but because it's so slow, the reaction is slow. When get your plant, you get your flower, it's THCA that's in the flower. THCA has become pretty interesting. We've done a little bit of work on separating out like the acids, the THCA or other cannabinoids that have acidic forms from their neutral forms.
Okay.
And we do that with the Pure 99.
Yep.
I'm also doing that with other crystallization techniques, right? Because you can crystallize the neutral CBD, right? But the CBDA doesn't really crystallize very well. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do to make it better. But I know that decarboxylation is always happening, right?
Right. We've mentioned that Delta-9 is a result of decarboxylation, but I think we should talk about what that is. And
we have lots of podcasts on decarboxylation, but for those of you who don't know, we sell decarboxylation equipment, but we don't actually make it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, decarboxylation can be done like in a very, very easy way just by heating it in an oven.
Heating it up, yeah.
Yeah, you can literally put it in your oven and decarboxylate it, A lot of people want to know what the conditions are for that. And like I said, you can go onto our YouTube channel, and we must have a dozen decarboxylation exposés on that. But fundamentally what we do is we typically heat it up to 145 degrees Celsius under vacuum. And then that way we can decarboxylate rather quickly.
Decarb and remove moisture as well, right?
CO2 is given off. You're removing moisture. Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of the benefit of doing it in the decarb oven. Also, under a reduced oxygen environment, right? In the oven, in a vacuum oven, right? Because it's under vacuum and doesn't decompose into CBN if you're doing THC, right? As much. So decarb would basically move from THCA to
Delta-9, yeah.
Delta-9, right? Yeah. Which then is scheduled.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem molecule. But
yeah, so regarding schedule and legality, you probably are aware there's, as a result of the Farm Bill, 2018 Farm Bill, cannabis flowers with 20% THCA content. I think different lawyers have different takes on it, but essentially categorize cannabis flowers with THCA as hemp.
Yeah, as long as the Delta-9's under
0.3%.
Right, so you can have 20% THCA.
Yeah.
And 0.3% Delta-9
under
hemp.
Yeah, the eyes of the law, it's hemp. Right. So obviously that loophole, similarly to the Delta-8 madness over the last few years. Yeah. Well, an entire industry so happened to pop up around selling this now gray area legal.
Yeah, it's straight up
psychoactive,
straight up legal in like
substance.
Many states. It's still straight up legal because it's not on the Schedule 1 list. THCA is not on the Schedule 1 list. So there has been court cases and recent court cases that say, hey, look, THCA is not scheduled.
There are hundreds of places selling.
Yeah,
like
THCA.
I said, 20 THCA hemp flower,
right.
With 20% THCA content.
Right. One of the issues, obviously, that comes up with this is, okay, so you get into a compliance type of situation where you have flower, and you're like, dude, this is THCA, this is not THC. Well, okay, they're going to confiscate some of it, and they're going to send it off to the lab to have no proof that it's not, right?
They're going to leave it in the hot car all day first.
They leave it in the hot car, right? Okay, yes, exactly.
Chain of custody defense on that.
Let's put it through the X-ray machine a couple times. You never know what's going to happen there. That's high energy, right? As well. We'll put it through the X-ray machine 15, 20 times.
Which, for those of you, I'm sure most of you are following closely, but that would produce its
it could
Delta 9,
it could. I don't know if it's selective, but
maybe not enough.
Maybe not enough, yeah. And then let me see here. What else? Well, and then in addition to that, you get into the laboratory, and some of the compendial methods that are out there. What does it tell you to do? Okay, convert everything and measure total THC. So what do? You convert everything to. You decarboxylate the sample, heat it up so that you got one measurement, and so
voila, you have a lab result that shows you have broken the law.
You have broken the law. You have to go to jail, buddy.
Right.
Trying to catch you riding dirty, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Good reference. Just listening to that song.
At the end of the day, that's something that would be a risk on that, right?
Yeah.
Even on import, export, and things like that, that you would be relying on. Other laboratories that have methods in which to convert everything to an acidic form in their methods, right? So then how do you fight that? Because there you have your sample, right? And there really is, that is a huge risk.
Totally. Well, same thing with THCA, Delta 8, all the.
So how can you control the laboratory and what they're doing, right? You can't.
You cannot.
You cannot.
Cannot be.
So
done.
you could argue, for example, in the court of law they actually got that, but then you are down the road.
That sounds really cheap. Yeah. Just talking about it.
You are down the road, though. I mean, you're at that point in time, you're 50 to 60 grand in, right? And there's only one person making money.
That's right.
That's the lawyers. God love them. And I mean, nobody wins at that point except for the lawyers, which is really great. Yeah.
I find the legal.
Legal beagles.
Some would say loophole. I'd say pitfall of averting the Delta 9 language with THCA or Delta 8 or 10, whatever. All the deltas.
So there's another aspect to this, and that'd be therapeutic, right? And I know that there are some clinical trials that are going on with acidic forms of THC and other cannabinoids. But again, those are clinical trials, right? They're not necessarily, there isn't a high volume demand for that kind of thing.
Right.
So nobody goes out and says, hey, I want to buy kilos of THCA, unless they're trying to skirt the scheduling.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
And then, okay.
Well, so send it to the lab for testing.
Send it to the lab for testing. So that is a more, I don't know what you want to say, like a more risky business proposition then. So you don't know what's going to happen, and there's no remedy at law once the border or the crime lab or whatever has determined that you are guilty because of their method. Now you have to go and defend yourself from that. So that's kind of the negative to the whole thing. So because it's so close. I mean, I'm
should
really
be quite
surprised.
A deterrent. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really kind of surprised that, for example, THCA is not. I know that in some jurisdictions and countries that's not legal, but then other countries it is legal, like in the U.S., for example. Right. So that's something we've gotten a lot of calls for, like, okay, we want to do THCA, right? What happens a lot of times, here's what happens. Like they'll do an extraction, whether it's ethanol extraction or THC, or CO2 extraction or whatever.
These are people that say, I want to extract and produce THCA.
Right.
That's what they come to us saying.
They start it. Okay, so you start off with 0.3% in the plant.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
And then you concentrate it. And then what happens? Of course, that 0.3% turns into what, 4 or 5%?
A lot.
On the, So then now it's a Delta 9 product. It's not a Delta 8 product, right? So, it's not a THCA product. It's a Delta. It's got a lot of Delta 9 in there. So now you need to get that Delta 9 out, right? And you need to do it in a way that you can try to crystallize it. That's one way you can try to do. The other way to do it would be chromatography. That's kind of the Army way. You can crystallize it or you can do it chromatography. Both of them are completely viable. I would say that you can definitely do with chromatography, but also crystallization. We have crystallization systems,
Yep.
so you could do like, for example, like a CO2 extraction, get your THCA out. You obviously couldn't, if you put it into a molecular still, it's going to decarboxylate,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
No more THCA.
and then you have to separate that out.
There
So
you go.
now you're talking about a ratio. So let's think therapeutically, you'd have to actually control that,
Yep.
or you'd have to remove one after the fact. Now it's complicated now.
Yes.
So now
Complicated,
now you're
expensive.
complicated. Now you're talking about remediation now. So I'd say that if you are inclined to do that from a therapeutic standpoint, what I just described is completely logical. And you go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? But if your target market is like a medical market, it's definitely not in demand at the moment. But I think it will be changing a little bit, mostly because of the legal loopholes related to being able to sell THCA flower and THC, and it's all THC extracts, THCA extracts and THCA flower.
Right.
I mean, you can already see that.
Well, what do you think is going to happen with
As long as it's under 0.3% Delta 9, it's a hemp product.
the existing
Yes.
farm bill?
Yes. And that goes for an extract too.
Yeah.
Or it goes for end products too. So you could have up to 20, 30%, 40% THCA and very, very little 0.3% Delta 9.
Yep.
And you still have a compliant hemp product.
Yes, you could have an edible product, a pill,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
form of product.
Right.
And when sampled, if it's below 0.3% Delta 9 THC,
Yeah.
good to go.
Yeah. So the other thing on that, the other thing to think about on there is just, your acids are typically not very bioavailable. So you'd have to actually decarboxylate it in situ as you were, whether it be vaporization or something along those lines, like maybe a pre-roll with rolled in THCA or something like that. That kind of thing, like THCA crystals or something, where it would decarboxylate by virtue of its intake mechanism.
And now you're smoking something for a health benefit.
Yes, of course. But then
There's no irony there.
You're decarboxylating it. So
There you go.
If you are looking for a therapeutic benefit, then you have to figure out a way to get it in your body.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why probably the THCAs would be very high dosage forms without
in a form that's available for your body, right?
Right. They're probably not very they're probably not exceedingly lipophilic either, so they wouldn't be good for liposomes and things like that. So more physical encapsulation would be a lot better drug delivery mechanism on that side.
So THCA is lipophilic.
Yeah, THCA is more hydrophilic.
Hydrophilic,
Yeah,
okay.
A little bit more hydrophilic.
And the reverse for
you can
the
look
isomers?
As soon as you take that acid off, it become more lipophilic, right?
Yeah. So it's not just a lack of interaction with your CB1, CB2.
Yeah.
It's other receptors as well.
Yeah, no, I don't know if that's so much bioavailable. So it just doesn't enter the bloodstream. So if you take it as orally versus if you smoke it, of course, then it's going to be Delta 9, and then that's going to go in and be metabolized. First pass metabolism through the lungs, obviously, or into the lungs, into the bloodstream, going to bypass the liver, right? If you take it orally in your stomach, it's going to go into your liver, right? And then it's going to be metabolized in your liver. And then that's why it takes a longer for it to hit the bloodstream. And the THCA just doesn't get absorbed very well. So that's why it's just not bioavailable. It's not absorbed into the bloodstream very well. From what I understand, I wish I was up on it, but I think once it does get in the bloodstream, there definitely have a lot of really good therapeutic benefits.
Yeah.
But again, those of you who are looking to produce a lot of cannabinoids and you're growing a lot and you're producing a lot, the THCA market, and you're trying to find that THCA market, it's a small clinical market. It's not a large medical consumer market. There's not a lot of benefit there. You're going to be decarboxylating. You're going to be creating dosage forms. Right. So you could always go with the digestion method, the septic method.
There you go.
You could take all of your plants and put them into a big septic tank with some enzymes.
Yeah. So just
and it'll break it all down.
Stir it up.
Break it all down. It becomes a sledge.
And
a black sledge.
Booming efficiency.
A booming efficiency, and then
10% recovery, tops.
Something like that. And then
you might as well just go to the rosin, guys.
Might as well. You could do that.
Yeah.
But the septic method is a way to get THCA. You can get septic tanks and put in your enzymes, and I think those ones that you flush will work too.
There you go.
Break
for
up
your very own septic tank at home.
That's right. That's right. So you don't have to worry about enzymes and proprietary enzymes. You just go to your local store and buy the Enzymes R Us stuff, and it'll break everything up, and
it's all the same.
It's all the same. Yeah, we get to.
Let's talk about one more thing. One more aspect of, we get a lot of requests, a lot of consultation, whatever, people seeking advice on their processes.
Right.
One of the more common things I hear when talking to processors and customers or potential customers is, I want to extract THCA. I want to run all of my material and extract super cold extractions. I want to be, the base request is, I want to extract THCA. And then you later on find out that all of the material, no matter what, is later on decarboxylated, either during or after winterization, distillation, etc.
Right.
What's the deal with that?
It's just a misunderstanding. Right, exactly. That's what
it's very common.
That's why we're here.
It's very common.
Yes,
it may even be even populations that have that understanding versus
I agree with you.
What we understand about it. So it's not like we're saying, hey, those guys are right or wrong. We're not saying we are right or wrong, but when you later on find out that all of the destination goes through a decarboxylation step, so we're no longer talking THCA, it begs the question why, and I should clarify a little more, a lot of the even populations I just mentioned have the understanding that it is a superior method to decarb only after the extraction has been done. And it is a common, something we would recommend to maximize efficiency in the extraction process,
right,
to decarb prior to extraction.
Right.
So, just wanted to.
Yeah, the pre and post decarb.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people look at the biomass and they're like, oh, well, how do I handle all that biomass? Are you asking me to decarb all that?
Yeah.
You know? And there are easy ways to do that. Mm-hmm. We can put you through to some good techniques there and good equipment to do that in an easy sort of way where you have a balanced view of that. But then doing it afterward, you're cooking the living daylights out of it. And how's that good? So literally, you take the oil that you get, and then they're cooking it up to in a stirred reactor to 100 degrees Celsius plus, so more like 120 degrees Celsius plus, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just cooking there for hours or an hour, 2 hours, right? At that temperature. You're breaking everything down.
You're baking it.
Have you ever stepped into a laboratory that's doing that without good ventilation? I mean, it's a little smoky in there. Just kind of wonder.
If you leave without choking,
Yeah, and so that is a thing. And I would say that a majority of the oils that people consume, I would say, go through that process, in fact.
Post extraction.
Yeah, it's breaking everything down into just like nothing, all kinds of side products. Nothing's controlled. You don't really know what you're getting. And that's why some people they get allergies from different things. You don't know it's not controlled. You don't have a good dosage form. You don't know what's in it even. Mm-hmm. What are all those peaks? Well, we don't know. We don't measure them. That's the wonderful thing also, like these guys who fluorinated or perchlorinated solvents, which are, they use them for extractions. Okay. It's horrible. Yeah. Because you can't measure the byproducts. Okay. So you can't measure the residuals because they're fluorinated, right? Or chlorinated.
Can't measure it. It's not there.
Right. It's not there, right? Exactly. So it's kind of a crazy thing. Anyway, so that's it. I mean, so if you're one of those guys and you want to know, should I be extracting acid or should I be extracting regular material, or how to go about doing this? That's why we're here, and we're here to help you out in terms of understanding, in terms of helping you get the right workflow, helping you select the right equipment, helping you select the right processes, procedures. We can help you with people, layouts, all that kind of stuff. So,
or figure out how to remove that that color that you're
or the color that you're having in the shoot, dark color or red color. Oh, my
it
extracts
just so
are bright blue. Well, stop.
It just so happens to be right after decarb. I'm just saying.
Right after decarb? Yeah, all the red, yellow, or the purple. The purple. Well, is that what you're talking about?
Our Irish friend today, it's specifically the pinks.
Hey, I thought it was the Smurfs that were in there.
No.
They fell in the brew, and they're kind of making it.
That was Tuesday.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate your attendance. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. And go ahead and click that subscribe button again. And we're looking forward to talking to you next week. Take care. Bye now.